Postcolonial theory analyzes, explains, and provides insight into the relationships between the colonizer and the colonized. We see this dynamic as the colonizer pushes culture, beliefs, and values on the colonized entity. Through characters in the stories, we can better understand the differences in culture, gender roles, imperialism, and many other things that contribute to the divisions and virtues of the colonizer and the colonized. The Epic of Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh is a king that abuses power and does not treat the people of Uruk kindly. He imposed his will on the people and took all of their sons and slept with the virgins before the husbands consummated the marriage. The people prayed to the gods for an equal to Gilgamesh, and the gods created Enkidu. Enkidu is a strong man without language that roams with the beasts of the wilderness until he is seduced by the harlot and he comes to Uruk. Gilgamesh and Enkidu battle, with Gilgamesh becoming the victor. Afterwards, Gilgamesh and Enkidu become great friends. It is this friendship that begins the change for the better of Gilgamesh. After the defeat of Humbaba, the gods were unhappy with Gilgamesh and Enkidu fell ill and passed away. The death of Enkidu troubled Gilgamesh greatly, and he was in despair due to his death. He set out in the search of immortality, yet ultimately had to face the reality of his own mortality. In the end, the death of Enkidu and the search for immortality made Gilgamesh a better king once he returned to Uruk. Gilgamesh is not the best post-colonial literature because there is not a true colonizer or someone being colonized. Some could argue that the transformation of Enkidu from a beast-like being to a refined man with language is attributed to Gilgamesh's forcing of his culture and language upon him. William Shakespeare's The Tempest. In The Tempest, Prospero was a magician that was ousted from his position as Duke of Milan by his brother Antonio and the King of Naples, Alonso. Prospero was banished along with his daughter Miranda to the island in which the tempest is set. Prospero conjures up a storm, causing the shipwreck that brings Alonso, his son Ferdinand, Antonio, and some other characters to the island. The island was originally ruled by Caliban, the son of Sycorax, before Prospero arrived. Caliban is a monstrous-looking creature, and Prospero has enslaved him as well as the spirit of Ariel. Although Prospero has taught Caliban his native tongue, Caliban does not like his position with Prospero and plots to overthrow him with Trinculo and Stefano. While Caliban plots, Prospero takes Ferdinand as a servant under the premise that Ferdinand is acting as a spy. His true intent is to create a romantic relationship between Miranda and Ferdinand. He does this to hopefully regain his position back in Naples. In the end, all parties are set before Prospero. Miranda and Ferdinand marry, and Prospero pardons Caliban. He forgives his brother and the king, and sets Ariel free of his servitude prior to returning to Naples with Miranda and the rest of the party. The language, culture, and identity between Prospero and Caliban is indicative of post-colonial writing. Prospero enslaved Caliban, but prior to his enslavement, taught him his native language and tried to teach him how to be civil. Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness. Heart of Darkness takes place in the Congo of Africa. Marlowe is the main character, and between him and an unnamed narrator, they depict the tale of the ivory trade and Mr. Kurtz. Through his adventures, Marlowe often refers to the locals as savages and inhuman. In pursuit of Kurtz, who is the leading distributor of ivory in the region, Marlowe takes his boat upriver with a crew of local cannibals, some pilgrims, and a manager. In search of Kurtz's station, Marlowe and his crew are attacked by locals firing arrows. His helmsman is killed, which is a local, and Marlowe reflects on the loss of someone he felt close to and not so much as a savage. He throws the helmsman overboard and they continue on their journey. Marlowe finds Kurtz and realizes that Kurtz has done much harm in the process of acquiring the ivory. Upon Kurtz's death, he yells out, "The horror! The horror!" This could be referenced to the horrors and atrocities that Kurtz himself have attributed to. The conflict within Marlowe and the narrator reference in the treatment of the indigenous people is a good representation of post-colonial literature. The description of locals as inhuman and savages and depictions of their appearance outline how the colonizer has devalued the colonized. A Hanging by George Orwell takes place in Burma and follows the long walk of a Hindu man on his way to be executed by hanging. The hanging takes place after Britain conquered Burma. The Hindu man is escorted by Indians and the narrator. The narrator seems to be taken aback when he realizes that they are about to take the life of a perfectly healthy man by stating, "When I saw the prisoner step aside to avoid the puddle, I saw the mystery, the unspeakable wrongness of cutting a life short when it is in full tide. The Hindu is hung and the story seems dreary, Yet shortly afterward, the men associated with the hanging are able to go about their lives laughing as if nothing occurred. Although we do not know the reason behind the hanging, we can easily see how the value of the lives of the locals is not valued. The colonization of Burma by the British is easily interpreted. The First Party by Atia Hossain. The first party is from the viewpoint of an Indian woman attending an English party with her husband. She's steeped in her customs and traditions and is not comfortable with behaviors and attire of the women that are at the party. This is a great angle on how cultural beliefs and values can cause us to judge quickly and build resentment. As the party goes on, she becomes unhappy with her husband as he asks her to dance. She believes that women should be clothed a certain way and have a higher moral compass. She holds herself to a higher esteem, and she felt that the people at the party were assaulting her morals with their vocal dancing and scantily clad bodies. It is easy to understand that both cultures have different moral compasses and that the wife felt that she embodied what a woman should represent more than the hussies that surrounded her. The White Man's Burden, The United States and the Philippine Islands by Rudyard Kipling. The poem makes an attempt to accentuate that it is a burden on the white man to change the Filipino people. The Filipinos are viewed as stolen people, half dead and half child, and it is the colonizing United States that must sacrifice to make the Filipinos better by converting them to their culture. It is a representation of how the colonizer may feel as if they are aiding the colonized by converting them to their way of living. The Patriot by Nissim Ezekiel. Ezekiel is questioning the way the world is headed. He believes that ancient Indian wisdom is the best solution and that is the right direction to follow. He questions the action of his people, the violence and the wine drinking. He highlights the behavior of China and Pakistan and believes that Ram Raya will be coming. His views on religion and ideals on behaviors allow him to judge the action of other countries and those that live in his own. Cultural themes and identifying with a certain religion are abundant in this judgment of his country. Art of Darkness is the best example of postcolonial theory. This is due to the imperialism, cultural differences, imagery, and identity of the local Africans and the Europeans. Marlowe's conflict within himself about how to view the locals as inhuman and savages versus viewing them as similar to himself is something that stands out in the novella. For the indigenous people to be aiding Marlowe and his crew while other indigenous people are attacked is an example of how the colonized group can be conflicted with their own community. Heart of Darkness does the best job of portraying the emotions and conflicts of occupying the native land of another culture and people. The Epic of Gilgamesh is the least useful example of postcolonial theory because there is not a colonized people or a true colonizer. Although I can see how Enkidu's transformation can be viewed as imperialistic, I do not feel that it provides a clear and accurate angle of how the colonizer and the colonized are portrayed or the emotions and conflicts each group feels when occupying a region. The other regions depict a clearer portrait of post-colonial theory.